Hello, and welcome back to the New York Islanders Micheal Haley Jersey Quest BHM mode. As you can see here at the end of the 2010-2011 season, kind of in the free agency period. So kind of means, as you can guess, that we didn't win the Stanley Cup this season, but we'll kind of quickly go through everything that happened this season and kind of what I'm expecting from the team next season. As you kind of see in terms of our record, it's a lot better than the 30 wins the Islanders actually finished with. So the game simulating a lot of the games kind of felt the Islanders are better than they actually were that year. Finished with a 44, 34, and 3 record, which was good enough for 92 points and fifth in the Eastern Conference. It's a pretty solid season. In terms of, it was mostly on the back of goaltending and like kind of defense. Surprisingly, though, our defense was like really bad in terms of overall and whatnot. So we finished 26th in the league in terms of goals for per game at 2.76. We were first, kind of tied for first in the league. Goals against per game, 2.67. Kind of in terms with that in mind, kind of quickly just go through kind of who won the cup and whatnot. Considering that we didn't win the cup, as you can see, we did make the playoffs, but we matched up against the Flyers in the first round, swept them surprisingly with wins by 3-2, 2-1, 3-2, and 4-3. Then got matched up against the Montreal Canadiens, who were kind of second in the East with 103 points in the regular season, and we took them all the way to 7 games. We won games 1 and 2, 3-0, 2-1. Then Montreal won 3 in a row, 3-2, 4-2, and 3-0. And kind of do or die game 6, 3-2. But then game 7, Montreal kind of probably showed where they were the better team. They won 5-2. See here in terms of how the playoffs overall went out. Vancouver Canucks won the Stanley Cup, and they were the 3 seed in the West. The best team in the regular season was the Pittsburgh Penguins with 111 points, but they didn't make the Stanley Cup Finals. The Washington Capitals were the team that the Canucks beat. I think it was in like 6 games maybe to win the Stanley Cup. In terms of the AHL, the Manitoba Moose won the Calder Cup. Kind of in terms of individual trophies, Sidney Crosby was the leading scorer this season with 112 points. We picked up a bunch of awards, but as I kind of said, goaltending / defense was our big kind of savior this season. Big enough, apparently, that Rick DiPietro won the Hart and the Vezina Trophy this season for us, which is pretty impressive. But like I said, I'd say we had kind of tied for first goals against per game in the league. I guess we must have been tied with Blue Jackets because Mari Turco won the Jennings Trophy. So they must have had, like, I guess, even though we're like our goals against per game are the same, he like I guess for based on however the calculations work, they let up actual less goals against or something. I don't know. Have to like look more into it, but that's just how it kind of turned out. So that was pretty impressive by DiPietro. A lot better season for him than it was IRL when he got his face punched in by the Penguins goalie, as I kind of mentioned in the introduction to this series. But that is what it is. So kind of going into the off season, I was kind of like, all right, let's upgrade in a couple spots. Mostly looking at kind of first line left wing, kind of someone to play with Tavares and Okposo, who's kind of like at their like kind of level to help them grow. And then mostly like, the rest of it was kind of overhauling the defense because our defense is outside of Mark Streit was pretty abysmal in terms of overall and whatnot. Even though I guess it worked out in game, Rick DiPietro kind of bailing the team out on a lot of occasions. And then a backup for DiPietro was kind of the other thing I was really looking for in terms of the off season. So let's kind of get into that now, and I'll get I'll get into that now quickly, or will I? No, I'll quickly do how was Micheal Haley's season like? He was kind of first line center in the AHL, leading the charge there. So as you can see, he led the Bridgeport Islanders in points, and I'm guessing PIMS as well. Pretty baller season. He had 14 goals, 45 assists, 59 points. Best on the team, and 129 penalty minutes in the AHL. Bridgeport Islanders didn't make the playoffs, so he had no playoff scoring to speak of. In terms of the Islanders, I guess our actual scoring, because I kind of also forgot to get into that. Our leading point scorer in the regular season was, unsurprisingly, John Tavares here with 82 points. So he's a point per game, 26 goals, 56 assists. He was also our leading scorer in the playoffs with almost a point per game. He had 10 points, 4 goals, 6 assists. But you might have seen there in the stats a little bit of a preview in terms of how our free agency went, but I'll kind of get into that quickly looking through the contracts. So as like I said, the biggest kind of big thing was a first line left winger to kind of play with Tavares and Okposo, but we also needed a third line center. So I kind of went out and signed Eric Bellinger to a 1-year deal to kind of shore up as our like kind of third line center. Let kind of Bailey play on the second line again, and kind of Tavares, he's obviously good enough to play on the first line at a point per game player. Then he's probably also then kind of saw there again. Left wing, I went out and splashed the cash for Zach Parise. So someone who in real life kind of wound down their career with a season or so with the Islanders. Zach Parise, kind of getting him in his prime here, 90 overall. So he was kind of like one of the top 3 players in free agency. The other top players were Ilya Kovalchuk and Joe Thornton, which you might have still seen. They might have still been available, like on that little thing on the right side of the screen. But I was really like Kovalchuk or Parise obviously are the two I was going to go for because they're both left wingers. But Kovalchuk, like the game lists him as a sniper, which is also what it lists Tavares as. So I kind of thought having a top line of Parise, who the game lists as a playmaker, as you see here, he's kind of even in terms of points, but game lists him as a playmaker. It's like his passing is a 95, his offensive awareness is 93, things like that. So you can see he's got like his vision thing in this game. I can't even see. Deking, hand eye, blah blah blah. I guess it's not. Maybe that's only a goalie stat. I don't know. But either way, you can kind of see based on his stats here, he's a pretty good playmaker. So having Parise kind of on the left wing, Tavares as a sniper in the center, and then kind of like Poso as a power forward on the right wing is a pretty sweet combination, I'd say. So kind of the 3 of them should kind of be able to carry the team for a good while. Then kind of left wing, didn't really have to do anything else. We have like kind of Shrimp as our second line, left winger, Molson third line, and then Sean Bergenheim is fourth line. So that's a pretty decent. And then kind of Sim here is our like AHL, not AHL, like kind of 13th forward on the wing, on terms of the wing. Kind of in the center, it's kind of either Konopka or Nielsen. I can kind of have to see what'll be the fourth line center, and what'll be kind of the 13th forward. I guess 14th forward in that case, but in terms of right wing, didn't really have much to do except sign a fourth line right winger. So you have Okposo for the first line, kind of Copeland, Hunter could do second and third line. Then for the fourth line, I went out and signed Pascal Dupuis. It's here to a 1-year contract at like $2.25-ish million per year, which is pretty decent. Then I kind of said the last thing I was going to overhaul was the defense, but kind of didn't really work out in the sense that the only for the most part, the only kind of players that weren't like way over like 36 or above. Like Nick Lidstrom was available. He's like in his 40s, so I kind of wasn't really going to risk that. So the only he's also left side. We mostly need right side defensive help. So I kind of had to go a lot of short-term deals, but one longer-term deal. So you can see here, Josh Gorges, who's a defensive defenseman, to a multi-year contract, kind of be our second pairing left defenseman. So we have Straight and Georges to kind of on left side, which is pretty solid. Then in terms of the right side, we had to kind of go a little bit kind of temporary 1-year help here with Van Ryn and Ian White, who's in the Dallas Stars series, which is the last series on the channel as well. So they're kind of temporary stopgap help, kind of on the right-hand side of the top 2 pairs. And then kind of the third pair, we kind of kept on to Jersina and Mark Eaton for kind of 1 more year each. And then not Hillen, but they're kind of be in the AHL still. So is he. But Freddie Mile kind of be our 7th defenseman, kind of let these guys grow in the AHL and get minutes and whatnot. And then goal, as I said, DiPietro, an excellent season. He's kind of in his infamous long-term contract. But for a backup, I went and signed Ray Emery because he's young-ish and kind of a decent enough overall. So if DiPietro gets hurt, which he kind of was going into the playoffs, we have someone who can tend the goal, not have me worrying too much, and allow kind of Koskinen and Poulin and Andres Nilsson kind of time to grow in the AHL before potentially kind of replacing him at the end of his contract. In terms of the draft, we also did pretty decent there, I suppose. Even though we had the 20th overall pick, 20th overall, went out and got Sean Couturier, as you can see here, is our 20th overall pick. And then kind of the other ones of note were Jonathan Huberdeau in the 5th round at 104th overall. Pretty good pick there. And then in our 7th round pick, Boone Jenner, another kind of solid pick. Roos here was our 4th round pick. Then on a defense, Jaworski here was our 6th round pick. And then our 3rd round pick was Dougie Hamilton. So kind of a couple, 1, 2, 3, kind of like 4 of our 7 picks were like kind of players who do end up turning into something in the NHL. They all have decent, I guess, B minus. I don't know how decent it is, considering like all of them seem to really have that potential for the most part. So I don't really know like what like that is or isn't really a good potential or not. But seems pretty decent to me. Yeah, so kind of based on this off season, well, not predictions for next season, I'm kind of now assuming we're kind of stick at around the same level, potentially do a little better in terms of at least making the playoffs. Hopefully, you can make a deeper run. But yeah, that's kind of it for this season. It turned out better than I expected, which was nice. Yeah, kind of. Micheal Haley had a pretty good season in the AHL. So hopefully, his overall maybe will go up. I don't know, or in this offseason period. If not, is what it is. But you kind of think it would like leading the team in scoring. That's a kind of like a more of like a grinder type player. But kind of see it is. But next season, kind of as I said, kind of hoping that we'll kind of be in a relatively similar record position as we were last season, in terms, this season, and then kind of hopefully make a deeper run in the playoffs. But we'll kind of see what happens there. But thank you anyone who watched this. Hopefully you watch the next episode as well.